Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Spanish United Radio. I'm your host, Enrique Sanchez. This evening, we have a guest. Would you be kind enough to introduce yourself to the audience, please?
My name is Vitov Valdes Munoz, and I am a peer counselor, and I worked for Hillview Health, Mental Health.
Welcome, Vito. Thank you for being on the show. We would like to know more about your time as a peer counselor and what exactly a peer counselor does for the community.
Okay, what we do is more like we are the backup for the psychiatrist. Where the clients will come in, and the psychiatrist will see them, but then while they're waiting, we will give them workshops, whether it be in art or we give has a client to patient interaction, so they could feel more comfortable before they see the therapist. Also, we help with the patients in an emotional support.
I see. So my question is, usually the patients that see peer counselors, are they usually rehabilitations? Are they court ordered, or is it just for anyone that is going through substance or mental health issues that they go to peer counselors?
I would like to say all the above, but most of the time we get people that come out of prison and come out not orphanage. Well, sometime if they're old enough.
Hmm.
Um, we get people that will come from reform school, different situation where people have mental and many like in many people that have problem with the law have a tendency to have mental illness situation too. So we help those also with housing, with with everyday situation, with life skills and how to deal with everyday life, how to anger management and stuff of that type.
I see. So how would you rank the success level of those that successfully complete a rehabilitation program?
Um, it all depends on the person, and if the person have the right kind of support. If the person have the right kind of support and the person is fully motivated, it could be like 75% to maybe 80%, that high.
Hmm.
But if the person don't have that kind of support, no matter how strong willed the person could be, his chances of making it through the program would be very little to nil.
Hmm. I see. As you know, Spanish United, we are a nonprofit organization and also an outreach organization for civil rights for the Latino community. I started about 6 years ago. I have about five chapters in different states. We do a lot in specializing in not particularly in mental health, but particularly those with the homeless, people that have been displaced. Um, so how would you rank um, the Hispanic population that is going through mental health and substance abuse, like from your experience?
Well, we have quite a few Hispanic or Latinos, whatever word you want to use, that have a tendency to lack community and family support. So those are usually the ones that end up becoming homeless and in situation of addiction and then going in and out of prison and so on. But because when the Hispanic community goes to its roots of community, you have a higher possibility of actually recovering.
Hmm.
It all depends on the community.
Right, that is true because when you make a comparison between the Hispanic community and the Asian community, the higher rate of success among the Asians is much higher than Hispanics, primarily because the community and the family unit tends to be stronger, even though they have their addicts as well, but it's not as high as you see with the Latino community, which is sad because Hispanic people have values and they have a community ethic, but I feel that again, like you mentioned, because of the breakup of the family, not having that community support like the Asian community has, I think the chances of failing going back to addiction or to mental illness is much higher than those that have a stronger support unit.
Yes, because that's an interesting situation because with the Asian community, it is considered very shameful to let any family member go homeless.
Hmm.
And because you have that stigma, the strong stigma of your brother sister become homeless, or your brother sister or anyone in your family become addicted on drugs, you have a strong stigma against that, and you have a strong support system in helping people with those problems because they do not want to see the dirty laundry out in public. So
Hmm.
they would do anything to cover that, and by covering that is helping whoever it may be go to get the facility, get the assistance they need instead of ignoring them.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, in the Hispanic community, you have a situation where we have become, as I would call it, Angloized, in the sense that we have forgotten our roots and forgotten our community and our responsibility for one another. We must see ourselves as one big giant family where we take care of each other. If we take care of each other, these problems will go.
Right, and I've always emphasized in many of my workshops and events that the social problems also are tied to economic development because when you have, for example, the head of a family that becomes an alcoholic or is a drug addict or let's say dies, that the nucleus of the family becomes destroyed, becomes disrupted, and then it becomes a domino effect to everybody else. And this is the thing that many Latinos, that at least the ones that are born here or come as immigrants and then they stay here for such a long time, they become very cynical and they forget where they come from. And I think that is a problem because, you know, when they become individuals instead of being the collective, they just forget about looking after each other, trying to prevent the social problems, and when a person, unfortunately, in the Hispanic community becomes an addict or becomes mentally ill, aside from being a shame or as an embarrassment, it's like they see them as a pariah. And I think that's something that needs to be reevaluated because I feel that, you know, there's no such thing as a small Hispanic. You know, I kind of echo the words of the Rebbe Mendoza of the Chabad, you know, that he said that there's no such thing as a small Jew. Every Jew has potential. I see the same thing with Hispanic communities. There's no such thing as a small Hispanic. I feel that every Hispanic person, regardless of their background, has potential to do great things. But I feel that especially those that struggle with mental illness, you know, or those that have struggled through addiction, I really believe that there needs to be more support and more support. There needs to be more resources for those, you know, to seek help because I feel that, you know, the less help or access that people have to resources, you know, to become rehabilitated, uh, you know, that will prevent someone from getting in trouble with the law and becoming a what's called a reoffender or a habitual offender.
Yes, exactly. And I agree with what you're saying. Every Hispanic is there's no small Hispanic, there's no small Latino, and we all are interconnected. And what we need to do is to fight tooth and nail to get rid of all the stigma we have with when deal with mental illness, drug addiction, and these maladies in our community, where we need to be willing to deal with these problems, and that when we have like when one have problem with like unemployment or family problem, to understand about the importance of dealing with those problems and not going to drugs or alcohol.
Hmm. And as a peer counselor, like, or how would you give suggestions to facilities or to counselors that want to improve the welfare of their clients, what suggestions you would give to those that are entering into that profession?
Well, if they're young, to make sure that they have the vocational training so they could support themselves, because when you can't support yourself and when you have too much time in your hand, that that could cause some trouble. And also I would suggest that they concentrate on community and family, where they have some kind of support, whether it be not just economic but um, social family support. It's like and have some psychological support with the right kind of counselors, with the right whether they be whether in their churches or their priests, their pastors, or whoever their spiritual leader could be, to give them support, not that, and not to be in the sense that, oh, these people have the devil in them, that's why they can't, that's why they're on drugs. No, that these people need to have the support of the love of God.
Hmm. Absolutely. And that's something that I have seen, particularly in Latino communities. You see a lot of churches, places of worship, but you don't really see places where there are for services. Let it be social services, let it be community center, recreational centers. Something that you don't see too much within the community. And I'm not here to demonize religion, but you would assume, when the church or the religious institution takes the role of being the provider, you would say, you would think that these social issues will at least be kept to a minimum, because what I've seen that it's the opposite.
I agree with you. Is that what we need? That we most of the Hispanic community have more overabundance of churches and buildings. These buildings and churches during the week when they are not being used, a lot of times they're just only used on Sunday or some places on Saturday. They should be used during the week as social community centers in giving workshops and helping people dealing with their home problems, help teach people dealing with life issues. These churches, if all of them will become community center, that's why I recommend that put your money where your mouth is. These pastors and priests must put their money and their effort into completely servicing the community. They should do missionary work after they report it to the community.
Absolutely, because the place of worship, it's not just a place where people would just go and worship and that's it. It should also function as a community center. Like that's the way it used to be back in ancient times. The temple was not only a place of worship, it was also a community center that provided not only the spiritual food, but also the physical food. And I feel that that's something that many religious institutions are lacking. And I feel that, and again, I'm not here to demonize religion, but I feel that this is where government needs to come in. And this is where I feel that government needs to, provide more of a social safety net, particularly with those that are struggling with substance and mental illness, because, the homeless population is increasing more and more every day, and primarily because it has to do with mental illness and substance abuse. And the only way that that's going to be at least controlled or contained is that people need to have access to more services, and there needs to be more vocational training and getting those that are peer counselors to help those at least that have gone through something similar to be there for those that are that are struggling, because, and I said it many times before, when one person fails, everyone fails. We cannot have the way of thinking that that's not my problem. It eventually becomes the problem for everybody.
Yes, I agree. It's religion should go back to its roots, and its roots from the very beginning, in the beginning of time, was always community, helping one another, and that's what religion must do. Take care of one another, take care of each other, and part of that is through the family,
Hmm.
where we must know that we extend more than just the nuclear family. It's not just mom and pop and brother and sister, my cousin, my my cousin, my aunts and uncles, and so on.
Hmm.
Where that remind me when I was a kid, it used to be that, let's say there's a wedding, funeral, or whatever social or religious thing happen, you have the whole family coming. You meet your cousins, your aunts and uncles, and so on. And then if somebody's in trouble, let's say you have a cousin or you have, let's say, an uncle in trouble, one of the aunts or uncles are willing to help them out.
Hmm.
And that's the kind of mentality we need to change our mindset. It's not just the individual, it's all of us. We all are interconnected. We connected to one another. If one person is in trouble, the whole person is in trouble. For example, if my toe hurts, my whole body hurts.
Hmm.
So I have to take care of my toe.
Hmm.
and and
Absolutely.
and that's what we have to realize, that the whole family is a different part of that human body that feels hurt and love together and must be taken in, protected, and taken protected and keep hold on. And and that's where education is important. We need to educate ourselves and educate one another how to deal with one another. And part of the problem with our community, we need to learn to understand and know each other, have that interconnection.
Hmm. And what do you think is causing the Hispanic community to not have that communion that it used to have?
I think it's the problem is the disconnectedness. Is the when when the United States when assimilate to when Hispanics assimilate to the larger community, they lose that sense of that they lose that sense of connectiveness. They become more. It just, I gotta take care of numero uno. Gotta take care of myself, and the heck was everybody else. And when you have that kind of attitude or that way of thinking, that you take care of just yourself, you end up pushing everybody else away.
Yeah, it becomes selfish, where people become cynical uh cynical and egocentric. That's
Yes,
that's the word.
people get too self-absorbed,
And
and
I think that's part of the problem.
yes, We need to understand that it's not just because we are taught through TV, radio, American culture about the rugged individualism. And if you talk about anything that had to do with community, right away, oh, that's socialism, that's communism.
Right.
And what is so wrong with community? What is so wrong with take care of society? There's nothing wrong with that, but they try to make it sound bad, so we only stick with the individual. And then when you only stick with the individual, the whole community falls apart. Then they wonder why our community is going to hell.
And you know something, you actually brought up an interesting point because this is where libertarianism fails because libertarians, they don't want any government involvement. If anything, they want to dismantle government. And one thing that libertarians have, they're either very gullible or very misinformed. That when it comes to looking after our people, or let's just say, providing services like hospitals or whatever, it's like, we just have to leave people to their own devices and let them uh provide. If they don't do it, that's on them. And to be honest with you, I think that's a very suicidal way of looking at society because when you look at Latin America, I'll bring the example of Latin America. The far right likes to use Latin America as a social experiment for communism and socialism. If anything, Latin America, with the exception of Cuba, is an example of libertarianism because in most Latin American countries, they have a libertarian system, meaning that only people with money could have things. They could have services, they could go to school, they could have whatever, and people don't have money. They're pretty much left to their own devices, and that's the reason why you have the issue of crime, organized crime, addictions, primarily because you have a libertarian system that is hereditary. Those that are born into an elite class or social class, they are the ones that own all the wealth, and the ones that don't have any wealth, they suffer. And I think that is something that I see in the United States, particularly with Hispanics, that they tend to forget that they left a system that was very oppressive, but I don't see them wanting to make their community better. And like I said, there is a lack of peer counselors, mental health counselors, nurses, doctors. Like, did you know, Abby, that within all of the health, psychological, healthcare, medicine, a percentage of the ones that are Hispanic are 5%. So very little Hispanics are involved in mental health. Very little Hispanics are involved in medicine. Very little Hispanics are involved in community development. And I think that is what I would call I wouldn't say sacrilegious, but it's very appalling and deplorable that we have a very large demographic of Hispanics, Latinos in the United States that are underserved and underrepresented in mental health and health in general, but yet they form a large demographic, but they only 5% of medical and social welfare professionals that serve that particular community. And to me, that is very, very, very shameful.
Yes, I agree. Is that we have too much of a, how do you put it? I had to get my train of thought back. We we have we need to understand that we need to create a sense of service, a sense of giving, that the right thing to do, the thing the thing that will help us is by being a service to one another.
Hmm.
And I think about how I go back to community. How when you go back to community, you render all your services to helping the community.
So how would you encourage Hispanics to give back to the community?
Well, my one thing I would try to give tell them that they need to go back to their roots. By giving back to the community, you're giving back to the roots. You're giving back to yourself, to your family. That how all this affect all of us. And for instead of having this spending all this money every weekend getting drunk or getting high, you spend your money into help building the community.
Absolutely, 100%.
Either
And I
so then you could have your community, your get together, whether it be from the church, you incorporate, because one thing we don't have a shortage of churches in the Hispanic community. We don't have a shortage of that. So those that go to church could go and use this as an opportunity to help others, to to be part of the foster family that a lot of these youth don't have when they get home from school. Let's say the mother, father is still working, they could go to their local church where they are
Mhm.
taught life skills,
Absolutely.
where they could get into soccer games or baseball or Boy Scouts, stuff of that type.
Hmm. No, I agree with you, and I feel that that's also a way of bringing the younger people into a religious institution because, young people in general today are not religious, and primarily is because religious institutions they tend to shun younger people, and second, that they feel that they have nothing in common with the religious institution. If anything, they feel that religious institutions hinder the personal freedoms of young people. So I feel that if the churches were to open up their doors and, like you said, have after school programs, sporting programs, or just a place where that's a safe place, and I guarantee you that not only it will encourage the young people to go to church, but at the same time it will keep them out of trouble. Because the problem is, unfortunately, with our people, especially with the young, they're more impressionable into getting into problems because they come from nothing, and the lure of easy money is a temptation that many of them do not want to give up, and that's the consequence, when there are no incentives to keep away from becoming part of gangs or becoming part of organized crime.
Yes, exactly. And they need to understand by using, in my opinion, churches, could be mosques, could be synagogues, could be whatever you want to call it, um, study halls, places where people could go and congregate and probably get to know one another, but in a decent way, in a way where it doesn't involve drugs, alcohol, or any form of crime.
Hmm.
Because the youth are very sociable. They need some place where they could socialize, and then they want other people to socialize with. So once they could socialize with people that are like-minded people, that would be a good thing where they could help them with the understanding of better schools, better education, better lifestyle, better building the community, you know.
Hmm. So to so to conclude the podcast, what would be your final message as someone who was a peer counselor? Like what would be your message to the audience, your final thought?
Well, my message is to
Hmm.
keep to keep the understanding of what you're doing in life is important for everyone, that you are affecting whoever, anybody, whether it be someone on a bus or crossing the street, whoever you meet, you be affecting them, and to have the mindset that you will affect them in a positive way, in a more humanitarian way, a way that could give your legacy something to be so other people could talk about. Like
Hmm.
like if you see someone is in trouble, you're willing to help that person instead of making fun of them.
Hmm.
You know,
Oh,
you
I agree. I agree
be,
with you.
be willing to like the well, we'll go back to the Bible. Like the Bible talk about take care of the sick, the poor, the needy, the helpless. You know, it's like the Sermon on the Mount,
Hmm.
but the idea of blessed are the poor, and and the idea to help the poor. But by you helping the poor, you're helping yourself. You're helping yourself to become better human beings. You're helping yourself to become more a humanitarian in this. It's about the thing is that we are all in the likeness of the creator, and the likeness of the creator is everything good, decent, everything good, decent, and good, and not just good. And also, we must be wise. Think of what we're doing before we do it. Think about the
Absolutely.
consequences and how the consequence will affect all of us. Because I notice people that can get into these problems, they don't think ahead. They don't think about, oh, if I only did this. I gotta think ahead before I act or before I say what I need to say or what I
Hmm.
think I need to say, without realizing, do you really need to say that, or do you really need to? What you're saying, would it be to create or to destroy? And we are on earth to create, because we are the children of the creator. So we must create and create in a good way.
Absolutely. So I wanted to conclude this interview. And for those that are listening, Spanish United is on all social media platforms. We are in Spanish United, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, now known as X, YouTube. We are a nonprofit organization. Anyone that wants to donate to Spanish United, feel free to reach me on social media on Spanish United. Anything that you donate will be used to help someone in the community. And as soon as I wrap up, I will inbox you the link, and you can share with your colleagues. And again, Vitov, thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Have yourself a wonderful evening.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.